Hello everybody, and thanks for clicking on this video. Also, thank you to everybody that voted on my community poll. I didn't actually expect to get a response to it because I rarely do on the community tab, but 6 people did vote, and 5 of them apparently voted for Love of Nirvana. One person voted for Adventure Behind the Bronze Door, and I will definitely do that one as well. I might even still do Dawn is Breaking, even though nobody voted for it. Probably because nobody has a clue what that is, because it's kind of a backwater, who's ever heard of it kind of drama, as far as I know. But, I don't know which is better, to try to freestyle this or to try to write some kind of script on it, because, okay, I started writing a script and I'll read what that said. 5 out of 6 votes gave Love of Nirvana the lead, so here I am. And I hope I don't upset or disappoint anybody because, well, I don't know if you guys could tell which was which. I didn't specify which was which when I said that I loved one of them all the way through it, and I loved one except delete about half of the last episode, and one of them turned into a train wreck. I don't know if you could tell which one was which, but yeah, Love of Nirvana is the one that turned into a train wreck that I've seen 1,000 times before, and I am thoroughly sick and tired of it. uh, And maybe it's because people actually voted, or maybe it's because it's a Ren Jialun drama, or maybe because I really did like it at first because it really was unique and all that stuff, but my brain is jumping all over the place, and I am trying to catch like 1,000 different thoughts to put them in order in a coherent and calm of what's going on, because for some reason I really don't want to get all worked up and just get fiery over this one. And there's basically a guarantee that whether I write a script or whether I freestyle it, there's basically a guarantee that I'm gonna forget something, probably something important, while trying to talk about this drama. In part just because there's 1,000 thoughts going all over the place, and in part because, I haven't been filming for a reason. I haven't really... Things have been going on in life, and with my own health. And I literally just got off the phone with a friend who told me that I haven't been me in the past month. That kind of makes sense because I haven't entirely felt like me for at least a month because a lot's been going on. But we're here to talk about the drama, not about me. So, I watched the last 9 episodes as fast as I could watch them while still coherently understanding the subtitles. So like a ton of it was on 1.5 times speed or 2 times speed. Because, yeah, I was partway through episode 31 of this drama when I just decided to just check out the last episode. And then the whole thing went on hold, partially on purpose, partially totally not on purpose. I didn't mean to leave it as long as I did. It was kind of insane. Dawn is Breaking's fault. Okay. And yeah, after checking out the last episode, I think like it was late at night and I had to go to bed. But then the next day, other stuff happened and whatever, and I kind of accidentally put it on hold. But at the same time, after accidentally putting it on hold, there was a big part of me that just didn't even want to come back to it. Once I knew that was how it ended. But again, I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it was because I was hoping, and part of it is because like I'm kind of getting really sick and tired of dropping dramas. I've been dropping so many dramas, it feels like lately. I've been dropping more than I've been finishing. And I don't know, again, like if that's just me and what's been going on in my own head and all of this stuff, or if it's really just I can't take it anymore with these I've seen this 1,000 times stories. There have been so many that have got my hopes up so high where I'm like, this is going to be a unique, well-done story, and then it just falls apart into the exact same thing I've seen a million times. And I'm obviously exaggerating when I say I've seen it 1,000 times, because I haven't even seen 1,000 Asian dramas yet, let alone 1,000 Chinese ones, let alone 1,000 of the specific one. But it's the feel of it, and the, like, we're going to get into that. I'll explain what I mean, I promise. So yeah, I did come back and I was determined to finish it because I literally only had 9 episodes left. I don't want to drop the drama when I literally only have 9 episodes left. So I pushed my way through it, but the more I went, the more I was like, I am literally just watching this to get it out of my hair. so that I can say that I'm done it. And at some point closer to the end, like as soon as all the fighting started again, I'm like, are you kidding me? And I started actually skipping stuff, not just speed through watching it, but like legit skipping stuff. And by the time I finished it, I literally basically said out loud to myself, I might as well have just saved myself by dropping it, even though I only had 9 left. It was that much of a disappointment, and there's some major factors why, and I really want to actually calmly explore what I'm talking about with it. Because like other people who watch it maybe won't see it this way. Maybe this is the exact type of story you like, and you like the fact that you've seen it 1,000 times before. I don't know. We're gonna get into it. I feel like especially the Chinese are literally obsessed with certain specific tropes. Like obsessed to the point of like, you're harming yourself. You are so obsessed. But before we get to that, there's 2 important general statements, one of them being kind of what I was just talking about. But before I even say that, one of the reasons why this drama disappointed me is something I have to word very carefully. Ren Jialun. If this is the first video you've ever seen by me, or if you've never seen others like of my earlier videos, because it's been quite a while since I did them, I said in my description of this channel that I make playlists of my videos because I have ADHD, so my interests are kind of all over the place. So in order to help people kind of figure out what's going on my channel, I make playlists because I have different topics and different things that I do. Most of it is story review by this point because I really enjoy doing this. And like this is another thing that I do all the time when I kind of latch on to things and then I do deep dives on it, or partial deep dive, whatever. Some of them I get way more deep into than others. But like I just go on a roll and I watch, if an actor for some reason pulls me in enough, I go on this roll and I watch like everything I can get my hands on that they've ever been in and all this stuff, which in one hand is fun, on the other hand is really not a good thing. And that would kind of get off too much because I'm trying to talk about this drama. But this drama, like I say 1,000 times before, it is branching out to explain what I mean by that. But the point is, standing above them all still is Ren Jialun. I made the playlist that I did for his dramas specifically because I said that he is a super unique actor in my books. He has a specific ability that's rare from what I've seen. It's the ability to keep his characters unique from each other. The dramas that he's in are unique from each other, of what I've seen. And this was my point of making his playlist, and going through the dramas, and going through his characters, and how he portrayed them, and all this stuff. That was the point that I was making when doing it. And this is basically where my script ends, because this is as far as I got in writing it. So from here on, I'm really freestyling it, and we'll see what happens. This is probably going to be long because I'm probably going to be rambly, especially without a script. But even with a script, I'd probably be rambly. I have to word this carefully because it disappointed me. But as much as it disappointed me, I respect Jialun's ability to act. I highly respect it because I am not budging on the fact that he is an amazing actor. He's an amazing actor. But also, even more so, I am trying to respectfully say this because Ren Jialun is a real person with a real life, and there's a ton of stuff happening that I have zero idea about. I do not personally know Ren Jialun. There is no way I ever would personally know him. Even if he spent like 3 hours a day in front of a camera every single day for an entire year, and I watched all of that, I still would not know Ren Jialun. This is a mistake that everybody on the internet is making these days. Not everybody, you know what I mean, I'm generalizing. It is a really bad habit and a really bad trend, especially of fans of things or people. They become kind of possessive about it, and they think they know all about it. Okay, stop generalizing. They think they know Ren Jialun just because of what they've seen on the internet. And I'm telling you, you don't. If you are not there in person with the person, spending real life time with them without a camera watching you, you do not know that person. Even friends on the internet. I remember back in the day when the internet was a brand new thing, okay? I'm that old. I remember when it was brand new. And this is one of the things they were saying, that they used to say. are friends on the internet real friends? And it's a whole, you can get into it. I believe they are. I have some friends on the internet that I've never met in real life, and I consider them friends. But at the same time, there is a different quality to it when you have never met them in real life. When it's only on the internet that you know them, there is a difference to it. They're different than the people that I have spent real life time with. Even someone you've seen in a video like this, you know me better than you would if you'd never seen my face. But you still don't know me. How many times have I said my health and everything that's happening in real life lately and all of this stuff? You don't know about any of that. I can't tell you about any of that because there's too much private aspect for safety reasons. And it's also because even if I tell you, hearing about it and experiencing it with someone are two completely different things. If you aren't there experiencing it, you can't really completely fully. And this is the thing. And yes, this is not just rambly. This is important to know because it also plays into the story of Love of Nirvana and things that bothered me in the story. Experiencing things with people. We will get back to that. It's one of the main things that destroyed the story because. But the thing is with Ren Jialun, all of this rambling back and forth and caveating and all the rest of this stuff because you need to hear what I'm saying. I am not attacking Ren Jialun because he is a human being and I don't do that. It makes me really, really, really upset when people attack people just because they don't like something they did or they don't like the way they portray them. Do you know how many stories I've heard of actors and singers and all the rest of that stuff harming themselves because of what people are doing and saying about them? Like, it's way out of hand. So, like, I am always very careful and respectful and don't like to say things about the way that people do stuff, like about the way the actors act or whatever, because all of that is in my brain. But when I said that Ren Jialun is like a unique actor that plays, his characters are all different and stuff, actors in general, usually their characters quite regularly end up bleeding into each other. Like, even like I say, Jukai, even though I still like him, his characters bleed into each other like crazy. Like, crazy. His characters definitely bleed together. Most of the actors that I named, even though I like all of them, their characters bleed into each other all the time. And what I mean by bleeding into each other is, okay, there's two aspects to it, the story and the character. When the characters kind of bleed into each other, it depends how badly they do it, but you could probably take, like if they played 4 different characters, you could take any of those characters and put them into this story and it would barely change the story. Some of them, it would change the story a little bit, but a lot of it would remain basically the same no matter which character you took, because all of the characters are so similar that they'd probably react and act the same way as each other within this context. So it's going to be basically the same story. And then there's other ones where, like, I mean, if the story is different enough, no matter how similar the character is, because of other things controlling them, they will have to go along with the story being so different, and the story won't change even if the character is the same. There's all kinds of ins and outs of it. And this is getting into my next point. So what I was trying roundabout way to say about Jialun is, unfortunately, lately, I feel like he is bleeding into each other lately. I don't think he was before. And I made that whole long playlist about why, but lately I feel like he is bleeding. His characters lately, and a big aspect about it is the stories he's playing in are so similar lately that I feel like I'm watching the same thing for the 5th time in a row. Because, and this is like segueing right into the next point, so it's kind of. The next thing I wanted to, in general, say was, like, when I say I've seen the story 1,000 times, a general point that I wanted to say was stories and how they're put together. Because here's the thing. In one sense, there's no such thing as a completely, like, totally unique story that nobody's ever heard before. In one sense, there's no such thing as that because human beings, in their base, we're all basically the same. Like, we all have the same emotions. We all fall for the same things. We all, like... We're very similar in a certain sense because, like, you know, it's just across the board, human beings are human beings. There are things that make us human being, and those things are the same no matter which human being you're looking at. We're also all very unique. Part of the thing is that we're all unique inside where people can't see it. We hide a lot of stuff. And um, here's the thing, too. You have to remember, when I'm talking about stories, this is something that I was thinking about, and I want to try to remember how I worded it. There's a difference between real life and stories. Just like how sometimes, like, I'm analyzing characters and I'm analyzing stories, and I sound really harsh. Sometimes I probably sound really harsh the way I'm saying it. And I hope that you can understand that if I was talking to a real person that had gone through these circumstances that a character went through, I would not handle that person in real life the same way that I'm handling the story. If I met you and you had gone through something very similar to, like, oh my gosh, hold on. I totally forgot to what on earth are their even names. That's really bad. I just watched the drama. Jung-soo, I think her name is. My goodness. There we go. Jung-soo. If you are someone in real life that has had, I mean, you wouldn't be, but in a sense, and we're going to get more into this too, Jung-soo, if you're someone in real life that has gone through something very similar to what Jung-soo went through, and you hear me talking about her, and I sound really harsh and really mean, and you feel like I'm attacking you, I'm not, okay? If you're a real life person, I would not approach you and talk to you the same way that I'm talking about the characters in the story, because the characters in the story are characters in a story. And it's a general kind of thing. It's one-on-one and in person. There's a certain dynamic that comes with it being real life, and this is going back to, it's the inner thoughts and the whatnot. Human beings cannot read each other's minds, and we don't understand each other's hearts. We're all very similar, so in a sense we can, but in another sense, you literally cannot read someone else's mind. No matter what you think you know about someone, no matter, like, you can know someone really, really well to the point where you know that this is not like them. They would never do this. So if someone told you that they did this, you'd be mind blown and be denying it to the nth degree because there's no way they'd do that. That is true. But there is always going to be an aspect about people that you don't know and you don't understand because even they themselves don't know and understand it. And that's the thing. Human beings are really good at hiding their own thoughts and their own motives from themselves, never mind the people around them. This is just how we are. We're really good at denying things about ourselves that aren't good. This is what we're like. So, like, when I'm talking about stories and characters versus real life, there's a difference. And part of that difference, too, this is one of the things that frustrates me. Sometimes it sounds like I'm like, they should have known that. Would they have known it in real life? Good question. Would you have known it in real life? I miss a lot of stuff in real life that I'm like, I should have seen that, shouldn't I? Later on when I find out about it, and I didn't see it. So, like, real life is complex. And so, in a sense, this has got to show up somewhere in stories because stories try to portray real life. But in another sense, you have to understand that stories are still different from real life. Stories are supposed to be pulling you in. You're supposed to be able to understand the characters. In real life, it's a lot harder to understand people. It's a lot harder to, like, but in a story, the point of a story, you're supposed to be able to understand. There's different types of stories, and in some stories, maybe the point is that you can't understand. So that is a thing. I'm not denying that. Different genres, stories, but, like, that's one of the things about a story is it does have a point. Stories are supposed to have a point. There's something in there. There's a message that's trying to be come across, even if the message is, we'll never understand this. It's a thing. What are stories for? What are you trying to get across with the story? Stories have a point, they have a purpose, they have a goal, and you're supposed to be able to connect and understand with the characters, right? In a different kind of sense to, like, real life. Like, in a sense, like, in real life, we can't read people's minds. In a story, you are supposed to be able to read the minds of the characters. A lot of the characters, that is, you are supposed to be able to read their minds. You're supposed to know. In the vast majority of stories, like I say, some of them maybe depending on the genre you aren't supposed to be able to, but, like, you are supposed to in stories. That's literally the point of a story. It's supposed to pull you in there and make you feel like you're part of it, and you're supposed to be able to understand, and you're supposed to be able to connect, and you're supposed to be able to work things out. in a sense, they should be able to read each other's minds in stories. And even more importantly, it is so, so, so important within stories for distinct lines to be drawn so that we, the audience, can tell what we know versus what the characters know. The more obvious something is to me, the more obvious it should be that it's not obvious to the characters if it's not obvious to them. Like, if you know what I mean? And in so many of the Asian dramas, especially in these Chinese costume ones, it regularly becomes incredibly blurry and difficult to tell who should know what, which leaves me frustrated and angry and ranting on YouTube about how stupid the characters are being. And Go East is one example of this, because there were actually a few places where I was like, and then the drama very skillfully found a way to explain what's going on inside of the characters' minds right now, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I needed that, because I'm not a mind reader. And I admit, just like everyone, I have biased opinions based on various things like past experience in real life and in other stories that I've seen. So for the drama to do its job properly, this is something that's very important in stories. For them to do the job properly and for it to be a well-done story, they need to explain things. And especially if they can do it in a way that's like, not like they're suddenly all of a sudden talking to the audience. Like in Nirvana, there was this one place where like, okay, you know what? They had already shown me Wei Zhao's past. They literally backed up and showed me what was going on. And then they had one of his characters sit down with them and reminisce about the past. And it's literally a speech about everything that I just saw, but put into a format like, this is not natural. This is not in the slightest bit natural. He's literally talking to the audience right now, and it wasn't even necessary because you literally just shown me that. So on top of it being like not well done because they're literally script turn around, let's talk to the audience now, like breaking the fourth wall here. On top of that, it wasn't even necessary for them to talk about and say anything because they literally just showed it to me. So like that's an unwell done way. That wasn't necessary. But in Go East, there was a few places I don't remember where because it's been a while and I wasn't intending to talk about Go East because like I'm probably not going to make a video on that one because I ended up not liking it. But I mentioned later on, because I'm tacking this into the middle of what I already have, apologies. And there was an amazing apology scene within Go East. Amazing. I'll leave that for later. A note that I write on the screen because I didn't say it out loud. You have to do a lot of reading in this one, I'm sorry, because like explaining things or I told you I'd miss out on stuff, so like I'm trying to please pause and read because it is important to finish this off quick. What was I in the middle of saying? Go East. There was more than once where like they showed me enough of the inner thoughts of what's going on. I'm like, ha, okay, this makes sense, and like all of this stuff. And it actually, I think part of that at least was in the middle of the apology scene. So like it's now making sense what each of them is thinking and why they're thinking it, and that explains why they reacted that way and all of this stuff. And like it was done so naturally and so well, and this is what needs to be in dramas more often. Stories have lost this somehow. I don't know. Okay, I'm not supposed to be rambling. So when you can't do that, or when a character is suddenly doing things that doesn't make sense, and they wouldn't have done that, or it just, they really should have understood this because it's a story, they really should have got it, and they don't, this is when I start getting all fiery and all upset and all this stuff, because I'm like, they should have, and this is why I say, there's a difference between real life and a story. A story is a story. It's not real life. And so, in a sense, yes, like, every story has its rules. There is such a thing as an unspoken rule. They always have lines, okay? Every story has lines. Whether you can see those lines or not, and how broad or how narrow those lines are depends on the story. But they all have lines. This is why I say there's a point in a story where, believe me, even if you don't understand what I'm saying because you've never thought about this before, if a story suddenly, if a character or if something happens in the story and you're like, that is a line that someone just crossed. Either they towed it really badly or they outright crossed it and you noticed it because you went, huh? Even if it was just for a split second, or if it gets right in there and all of a sudden you're mad, that's what happened. Somebody went outside the lines. My sister brings up Sword in the Stone quite a lot. I don't think I've ever actually read that book. I watched the movie, but that is a very, very, very freestyle magic. Very freestyle magic. However, like she says there's no lines in it, but I guarantee you there's lines because that's the nature of a story. There's always lines. Somewhere there's a line. Like, for instance, you never saw a vampire walk into Sword in the Stone. So, and this might sound completely 100% off topic, but this is what I'm thinking about and when I say I've seen this story 1,000 times. When you're building stories, in a sense, like I said, there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to stories. But in another sense, like every story, because we're all kind of the same and because the situations in life are very repetitive, when you get down to the bare bones of a lot of stuff, it's all extremely similar. Things are very, very repetitive in life. Situations are very repetitive. But there are some things within stories, like when you build a story, what makes it completely unique and different is how you put those things together. Which parts of these common tropes are you using, and in what way did you connect it to other tropes? So like for instance, a love triangle. That is one of those ones that I am like, I'm so sick of it. Like, unbelievably sick of love triangles because they are in just about every single story these days. I swear. Koreans are terrible for it. They are so detrimentally obsessed with it that if there is no love story in the drama, you almost like fall out of your chair in disbelief because like there has to be, if it's a Korean drama, there has to be a love triangle. If there's any hint of romance whatsoever in the story, there has to be a love triangle. I'm exaggerating just a little bit, but on the other sense, I'm not exaggerating. It's true. And the Chinese are terrible for it too. There has to be a love triangle. And in one sense, I understand because there's an element of that, because when you're in a relationship or when you're trying to build a relationship, it's true that if somebody else all of a sudden has the same love interest as you, that's gonna start making you react and do things when like maybe you were super slow and you weren't doing anything and you thought everything was fine. Then this person comes along trying to go, wait a minute, no, actually I feel this way about this person and I don't want them taking over. So I understand why people use love triangles, and it's not like I never want them to ever exist again because I see the point of them. I see a value in them, but they've used them so many times, and here's the thing, it's a cut and paste problem. When I say I've seen Love of Nirvana 1,000 times before, it's a cut and paste problem. They used specific things and they used them the exact same way as every other story uses them. To the point where like, I knew that's what they were going to do. There was like nothing unique anymore about it. It all was like a mile away. You knew this was going to happen. Because this is just how it is now. And this is why I say it's disappointing that Jialun is starting to bleed through his characters and through the type of story he's in, because it's getting to the point, like there's a drama of his that's coming out on Yoku soon, I forget the name of it, but it's coming out soon, and I saw the trailer for it, and I'm like, this looks exactly the same as the last how many dramas that he's been in. I feel like I've already seen it. All I've seen is the trailer, but the minute Jialun walks on screen, I'm like, I've already seen this. I haven't seen it. All I've seen is the trailer. And it's not even a proper trailer. It's kind of halfway a behind the scenes kind of trailer. And yet, I feel like I've already watched it. I'm like, this is not gonna go well. If that's the point that it's come to, where he walks on screen and I know what's gonna happen, this is bad. This is really bad. Like, this is not what it's supposed to be like. It's understandable that there would be some bleed over, but when it gets to this point, that's really bad. You're gonna have to try to change something up, Jialun, or I'm... It's... Considering how amazing of an actor he is, it's like really sad that it's gotten to this point where I can predict and where I don't even have any interest in watching this. I mean, that's shocking to say when I feel like, in a big sense, I'm not interested in watching that one because I've already seen it. It could still surprise me because he used to surprise me, but I don't know if it will with this one in specific. Okay, so like that's a big generalization of Love of Nirvana. And believe it or not, I did not take notes on this one. And see, for the first quite a bit of it, I didn't take notes because I was so drawn into the story and I was loving it so much I didn't want to stop and take notes. And I didn't need to stop and take notes. But the further it went, the more I was like, let me see here. Where was that? Where I said, yeah, it was when I stopped at episode 31. I stopped on episode 31 at 28:49. There were currently 35 episodes that had been released out of 40 episodes. And I literally wrote there, I don't remember when it started because I wrote it when I stopped rather than when this whole problem started, but I literally wrote, I am biting my tongue so hard it's bleeding. And, okay, so where were any other notes that I wrote about it? That's the wrong drama. Yeah, see, when I watched the first episode on September 27th, and there were 24 episodes released already at that point. And within like September 27, 28, 29, 30, October 1st, and October 3rd. October 3rd, there was October 2nd was the only day in a row that I didn't watch a bunch of them. By October 1st at 9:14 p.m., I was already at 29 minutes and 38 seconds into episode 26. That's how fast I watched the first 26 episodes. From September 27th at 12:13 a.m. was when I was finished the first episode. So about September 26th at like 11:30 p.m. was when I started Love of Nirvana. And by October 1st on 9:14 p.m., I was already almost finished 26 whole episodes of it. And then on the 3rd, I would have watched episode 27, 28, 29, and most of 31. 4 episodes in one day. And then it all just stopped because I checked out episode 40. And I was already by this point, already by episode 31, almost done episode 31. I was so sick and tired of it and so mad and so upset that I didn't care that I stopped watching it. And I almost did not go back and finish watching it. So why? How did that happen? What happened? Well,